Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, on Mac Sports and the Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook pages, the Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel, and we're also on Twitter and Instagram. Like, share, comment, and please subscribe to the Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel for all the great Northeast Streaming Sports shows. Our website is nessp.info. Check it out. Our shows are there, information on guests, bios, stores, and links to those stores. I'm Mac with your co-host, Jack Hirsch, legendary boxing writer and former president of the Boxing Writers Association of America, bringing you national sports with special focus on the Northeast professional sports from New York, Boston, and Philly. How you doing today, Jack?
Hey, a little tired, Mac, but still full of energy. It was a long night yesterday for us. I mean, we did over 6 hours in the evening. We did 2 hours yesterday morning, then an additional 6+ covering the NFL draft. And even though we're not covering the NFL draft tonight, we were only doing the first round. The NFL draft continues tonight with rounds 2 and 3. A lot of good players are still on the board, so the teams are still going to have a chance to address their needs if they didn't last night.
Good morning to Captain Jack over there on his site where he had his draft show last night too. I hope everything went well with his donation charity. His little contest he had going over there. He's a great host. He was on last night with us, and very colorful, very informative too. I mean, the man knows his Raiders. So good morning to you, Captain. Glad to have you aboard this morning. So, Jack, of course, we're going to talk about the draft today, especially the locals with the Patriots, Jets, Giants, and Eagles. A few things that surprised us. Pretty much it went the same way. But as we always do on Friday, we're gonna stay along the same format. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start with our NBA review. There were a few games last night, not many, but we're still going to go ahead and review it right now. So, not wrong one, guys. Let's try that one. There we go. So, Jack, in the NBA right now, in the East right now, the Nets are in first place at 43-20, followed by the 76ers at 41-21. The Bucks are in at 38-24. The Knicks in fourth at 35-28. The Hawks right now at 34-24. And the Celtics holding on to that sixth spot at 33-30. And the West, the Jazz are at 45-17. The Suns at 45-18. The LA Clippers at 43-20. Denver at 42-21. The Lakers are in at fifth at 36-26. And right now, Dallas is in sixth at 35-27. Yesterday's games, Jack, the Dallas Mavericks beat the Pistons 115-105. Houston beats the Bucks 143-136. Minnesota 126 to Warriors 114. Denver 121, the Raptors 111. The Pelicans get a win beating the Thunder 109-95. So that's basically the scores in the local game. The Nets beat Indiana 130-113. Durant returns to the lineup without Kyrie or without Harden and gets 42 points, 3 rebounds, and 10 assists, Jack.
I mean, Durant, I always thought would be, a little better off on a team without both Harden and Kyrie, because Durant's got to be the guy, When he had to share star duties with Russell Westbrook at OKC, it didn't quite work out. When he went to Golden State, Steph Curry, the ultimate team player, deferred to Durant. He didn't mind taking a supporting role to Durant to a degree and let Durant shine. And now with the Nets, he's kind of being kept in check a little bit by Kyrie and when Harden's in the lineup as well. And someone of the star quality of Durant, they don't blend in as well. It's not quite in their nature, even though he's trying to be that type of player. Big news last night wasn't the Nets. It was actually with the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis going out of the game with a turned ankle. And the Milwaukee Bucks should beat the Houston Rockets in their sleep, even without Giannis, but they lost to them. And I'm going to tell you, Mac, if by some chance Giannis isn't there for Milwaukee, forget it. They're exiting in the first round, no matter who they play.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, it always seems, Jack, near the end of the year, into the playoffs, something happens to Giannis. I don't know what it is, but it always seems like, at least the last 2 years, Giannis either gets hurt or the Milwaukee Bucks don't play up to their potential. Do you understand why that would happen every year?
You don't know a young player like Giannis and a young talent. I mean, it seemed yesterday's injury may have been a little more of a fluke type thing, just turning his ankle. I can't recall another NBA season, Mac, where as many star players are being sat out. I mean, where teams are genuinely worried, even when the guy's not hurt, they're sitting him out, and resting him. And everything is geared towards the playoffs. Rest the guy, rest the guy. It's as if they don't care whether the guy even plays during the regular season, as long as he's there for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's that term, load management, which has come into play the last couple of years. If you go back, even just to the 90s, Jack, they really didn't do this. They were competing all the way through the year for the playoffs, and I think it has something to do with the super teams now, Jack, right? I mean, the players putting together a team with 3, 4, sometimes even 5 legitimate stars, where they don't need everybody to win or to show up. And it kind of, I don't know if it takes away from the game, but if you're buying tickets to go see a player play, it kind of hurts the fandom a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain star players, I'll agree, Mac. Listen, as a fan, when you get tickets for a game, you're gearing towards the team who you want to see. You look at the schedule and you say, oh, I'd love to see the Lakers with LeBron James. I'd love to see the Bucks with Giannis. I'd love to see the Nets with their trio, Durant, Irving, Harden. But especially if it's one particular player. It was like that with the Lakers when Kobe Bryant came into town to Madison Square Garden. A lot of fans bought tickets with the idea of seeing Kobe play, and then he gets suspended for one game years ago, and that's a letdown to the fans. But more so if a coach is holding a player out, okay? And for some fans that don't go to many games, it's their one chance to see a certain player perform live. And it's a heck of an experience. When I was a little kid, I saw Wilt Chamberlain play a game. I didn't realize the magnitude of it at the time, but now I can say I saw Wilt Chamberlain play in person. And that's a big thing. You talk to a lot of young people about the NBA, and they say to me, you saw him play live? It's a big deal.
Yeah, I agree, Jack. Maybe it works out. I'm trying to remember if the Lakers did this last year. I don't remember them doing this, sitting, the players down, Davis or LeBron James. Weren't they in first place last year, Jack?
I mean, they didn't do it to this extent, but it's a new NBA. It's a new attitude. Certain cultures and certain things take place for whatever reason. Like I'll give you an example. Guy takes a foul shot. He misses a foul shot. 3 guys come over to shake his hand. He makes a foul shot. 3 guys. Where does that nonsense start? It's like guys are programmed to do this stuff.
Yes.
It started, it caught on, and attitudes catch on as far as coaches go, organizations go. It happens in baseball with pitch counts. Like 100 pitches is like the holy grail. I mean, what did they do? Pick the number 100 out of a hat? I mean, I think Warren Spahn pitch a game once, like 203 pitches in the game. I mean, if the guy's arm is feeling well, he has a routine. To me, you can pitch him, but it's like they're getting so fine, and it's like such an exact science. and you have all these athletic trainers, and it's just the culture of sports.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jack. I don't know. We always talk about the old versus the new, right? Who's in better shape and who's a better athlete. But yet, you have all these better shaped athletes who work out, all year round, and they don't even play the whole season. Where these guys, in some cases, had part-time jobs off season and sure did have all the equipment and trainers they have today. They played almost every game, every minute of every game. So I'm starting to really not almost be offended when somebody says today's athletes are better athletes or in better shape than yesterday's athletes. Right now, it doesn't seem that way.
Well, let's talk about the NFL draft. Some of the guys drafted. Certain teams didn't take certain guys because of injury concerns. Even though they were like better players, they fell on the board a little bit. I mean, years ago, Todd Gurley, for example, he was injured at Georgia, and they were concerned. I mean, a player suffers an injury, he misses, let's say, a season at Georgia, and even though he would have went much higher on the board, they're reluctant to take him because of injury concerns. They don't want to take a chance. And some of the players fell yesterday because of that. There were varying reasons why players moved up and down on the board. Some like Devonta Smith, he went number 10 to the Philadelphia Eagles. They moved up. But certain teams were nervous he was going to get hurt because he's too light. Okay? And so it was an injury concerns may have been the reason why a couple of other wide receivers went ahead of him in the draft. Josh Rosen, who hasn't quite panned out from 3 years ago as a quarterback, the concern was, he had concussions in college. He's light, he might be injury prone, and he got banged around when he was quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals, and he didn't get injured. So, you really can't tell. And because a guy's, let's say, undersized, they might be a little less reluctant to pick him because they're scared he's going to get hurt.
Well, what's funny to me, Jack, is that the starters in the two least physical sports, basketball and baseball, get more rest than the more physical games of football and hockey. And this is what drives me nuts. I mean, they're not getting hit on every play. They're not going up and down the ice and testing the legs. They're going up and down a court. You can't foul them anymore in basketball. And they're even resting DHs in baseball who don't even play positions. It's mind-blowing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, Mac. But listen, the NFL draft yesterday, we had a lot of hours, and we heard a lot of philosophies like we're talking about now. And all these teams have different, I don't mean all of them, some of these teams have different attitudes, what their standards are. And that kind of made it interesting with certain guys drafting other certain guys. I mean,
Right.
It all comes down to the attitude, of the organization. I'm glad when Captain Jack came in to save the day here, because it's something I wanted to talk about, that Leatherwood pick, Mac. That was kind of funny watching the Raider draft room. These guys are fist bumping like they're ecstatic over a guy they probably could have gotten in the second round. I mean, that was a reach to get Leatherwood at number 17 in the first round. So what are they celebrating? It's not like it was a steal.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have traded down for the guy.
Yeah.
I just don't quite get it, But the Raiders are kind of a little bizarre in the way they do things, right?
Yeah. Yes, they are, Jack. Oh, man. I mean, talk about shock. I mean, I was just as shocked with the Leatherwood pick as I was with the 49ers pick. So maybe more so, because Leatherwood is, I mean, that's just a great last name. I can't wait to say that name this year if he pans out. It's going to be great. So, yeah, that was very interesting. Jack, we got some time, so let's get it. Let's get in our NHL scores real quick before we get on our guests. Looking at the NHL, just at the locals, the Devils beat the Flyers. The Flyers, Cantier, Canessi, and Lawton with goals. Not a big feat beating the Flyers anymore. I don't think. I think anybody could beat the Flyers right now, Jack.
Well, listen, the big news in Philadelphia is Devonta Smith today going to number 10. But the Flyers, people don't want to even, talk about them at this point. I think even in Philadelphia, I think the big talk as far as the Flyers go moving forward is going to be AV, their coach. He's going to be on the hot seat next year. What's happened to the Flyers? It's not just that they haven't been playing winning hockey. They've been playing sloppy hockey. And that's the worst thing, for any team. It's one thing if you're losing tough competitive games, they're playing hard, the puck's not bouncing your way. But when you're having all these fundamental mistakes, guys out of positions, your franchise goalie Carter Hart regressing, it's cause for concern. And next season, what's going to be any different?
Yeah.
What issues are going to be addressed? Just because it's a new season, and you might say we're coming with a new attitude, it doesn't mean things are going to get any better. They're going to have to make some moves, it seems, during the off season.
I agree with that. I thought they should have made some moves this year. So the Bruins, 5 players score in their win over the Sabres. To me, that's not a big deal either. But the Bruins do keep pace in the top 4, so they're still looking good, Jack. They still have a shot at winning that division.
I'll tell you, no one made a run at the Big Four in that division. Washington, Pittsburgh, who are tied for first, by the way. The Penguins have been amazing under their coach Mike Sullivan, battling through all those injuries. He might be coach of the year, Mike Sullivan. And the Islanders and the Bruins and the Rangers look like they were making a mini run for a while, but it's not going to happen for the Rangers as far as the playoffs this year. It looks like they're going to be in the dreaded 5th position, 1 position out of a playoff berth.
Yeah, it seems like the Islanders have their number shutting down that offense with that strong defense. So maybe the Islanders got a little bit of a bump playing the Rangers. Maybe they'll turn it around a little bit, make a run at that first place. So let's talk a little bit about the draft. I'm glad Captain brought it up. So the 49ers, they move up to number 3. I really didn't know why they did that to begin with, except to take a quarterback. But after Trevor Lawrence, to me, it's a big question mark, Jack, especially who they picked up, as you said, looked like a 14-year-old kid. He does have some athleticism, but he doesn't have any experience. And even though Jim Jeffcoat said he liked the pick last night, and Jim Jeffcoat knows a little bit more about professional football than me.
He also said he would have taken Justin Fields, I think.
Yes,
number 3 too, as I would have.
Yes, I don't understand the pick. I don't even understand if it was Justin Fields. I don't even know why they moved up. I think they could have got a decent quarterback at the position they were and give up all that draft choices to get him. I don't understand it, Jack.
Mac, you know what this is like, this move by the 49ers? They own a big, gigantic restaurant, and the food is so-so, maybe a little better than average. The head cook is a little slow to make the meals, not that slow. And the owner of the restaurant storms in and basically says, okay, we're not going to use you that much longer, to the head cook. And then he turns to the manager and says, get me another cook, and storms out the door. Like, where are you going to get another cook? You're going to go on the street and pluck someone out? The Niners, where was their plan to take a specific quarterback? All they knew that there were a few college quarterbacks out there that looked appealing. It's as if they didn't target anyone in particular. They first gave away all that draft capital 2 number 1 draft picks, which is heavy duty, and a number 3 in the next couple of years just to move up from 12 to 3. You want to know something? Trey Lance may have been there at number 12 had they done nothing at all.
Yeah.
So meaning they could have maybe had the other draft picks. I mean, I don't get it. I don't think Trey Lance was their guy in the beginning. I don't think they knew in particular who they wanted. I think they did go through the process and they eventually settled on him. But the point about it is, let's say they didn't do anything at number 12. They liked Mac Jones a lot. They admitted that afterwards. Mac Jones would have been there at number 12 for them, worst case scenario. Chances are Trey Lance would have been there anyway. I mean, I just don't get this strategy, with the Niners, what they're doing. Who knows how good Trey Lance is going to be? He's played 17 games, not against the strongest opposition. And it's a bold move. It's a bold move. But listen, keep this in mind. Kansas City a few years ago, moved up a little bit in the draft, and they got Patrick Mahomes at a later selection. So sometimes, coach sees something in a particular player, the GM, but keep this in mind. Trey Lance, unlike Patrick Mahomes, wasn't being targeted in particular by the Niner team. They just felt they had to get the best available quarterback. But the problem is, like you've said, Mac, if not all the quarterbacks out there are that good, you're getting the best of a so-so group, and that's not going to take you where you want to go.
Yeah, I agree. The more I'm concerned about, and, the 49ers have drafted really good in the last few years, too. I mean, they were on target, especially with their defense. But to paint yourself in a corner and give up that amount of clout is what I'm talking about. I mean, get Trey Lance if you want, if you're in the third position. But to give up that many picks to get this quarterback when you're not sure about how good he's going to be because he just hasn't played down there, Jack. So, I mean, you're going to have to really develop this quarterback to turn into a good quarterback. I mean, you can only run with the ball so much. The Cardinals aren't in the Super Bowl. The Ravens got close, but they're not in the Super Bowl. And we're talking about quarterbacks that played for quite a few years in college. I just don't get the move. And if I was a 49er fan, I might be pretty upset right now.
Listen, the Rams made a similar move. They gave up a couple of number 1s and shipped Jared Goff to the Lions for Matthew Stafford. But Matthew Stafford, is going to be a good quarterback. Whether the deal was worth it or not, you could debate that. But Matthew Stafford's not going to be a bust with the Rams. I mean, at the very least, he's going to be okay. And maybe a lot better than okay, maybe outstanding. But that's a move designed for next year to get you to the Super Bowl in particular. The Trey Lance move, it might work out, but again, you gave up so much to move down from number 12 to number 3. You weren't moving there to get Trevor Lawrence. I mean, right. I didn't like it at the time. I don't like it, and yesterday, the way it played out, the 49ers could have gotten their so-called future quarterback without giving up all the capital that they did. So they certainly won winners in the draft yesterday.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Jack. Good morning, Tom. Devonta Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner. The Eagles got him. They do have a weapon to throw to. The biggest concern is his weight. I'm not concerned about his weight at all. Hill plays the NFL. I mean, there's a lot of little receivers that have played in the NFL. And, of course, he's still a kid. He's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. That'll come with the territory. So.
No move by the Eagles, not to take Devonta Smith. Nothing to do with taking Devonta Smith directly. The Eagles were going number 12 in the draft. To move up to number 10, they flip-flop with the Cowboys. And they give the Cowboys a third-round draft selection. They gave the Cowboys, their hated rival, a gift, a valuable gift. Okay, Mac, Christmas season, someone you can't stand. Can you imagine you going on and getting them a beautiful gift? Can you imagine that? I mean, the thought of it makes you want to throw up. You're disgusted. What were the Eagles scared about? The Cowboys were not going to take another wide receiver at number 10. They weren't going to do it. Were they scared the Giants were going to take Devonta Smith at number 11? The Giants traded, and with the Bears, that moved down to number 20. And listen, I mean, I just didn't like that deal with the Eagles, what they did. And, they basically lost the third-round draft choice for a guy they could have gotten, anyway at number 12.
Well, Jack, with Devonta Smith, I'm almost positive the Giants were going to go get Devonta Smith. The Eagles knew that, and that's why they moved up. After the Eagles moved up, the Giants dropped down because they knew what was going on. So that's exactly why the Eagles moved up. It had nothing to do with the Cowboys. They were worried the Giants were going to take Devonta Smith, and if you watch what the Giants did right after the Eagles moved up, they moved down. So that's what it was all about, Jack.
No, but my thing is this. The Eagles could have counted and gotten a better player than Devonta Smith and Micah Parsons, who went to Dallas. Micah Parsons would have had more value to the Eagles on defense, okay, than Devonta Smith is going to have on offense. Because Micah Parsons is arguably the best defensive player in the draft, but there was so-called off-the-field issues. I mean, and if you saw him jump into Roger Goodell's arms, Micah Parsons, he was like a kid, so happy and so grateful for, his opportunity. And supposedly the mistakes he made when he was in high school, kids tend to make mistakes. And they mature as time goes along, especially you put them in a situation of great leadership. Okay, and I'm not sure Dallas is the place of great leadership. It's a little bit the NFL's equivalent of the Wild West. But, you put Micah Parsons in a situation there, at Philadelphia, and I'm not sure as the culture at Philadelphia worked out for him. I'm going to be honest about it, but it's close to Penn State. He has that familiarity. It could work for him, could work against him. But Micah Parsons, definitely talent-wise, the Eagles would have been getting a tremendous impact player. But, as this show goes along, I can at least understand, a little more why they got Devonta Smith, maybe scared he'd go to the Giants. But there were no strong indications that the Giants were going to take him. It depended on what the situation was. The guy the Jets wound up moving down for, Elijah Vera Tucker, he would have been a heck of a good fit, for the Eagles, anyone else, as well. But,
yeah, I mean, I think, Jack, that the Giants were going to take Devonta Smith. The Eagles didn't want the Giants. They wanted Devonta Smith, and that's all that was. I think it's not a bad move at all. I think that really helps out Hurts. The offensive line will be back. The defense still a question mark for the Eagles. But they, you got the second round coming up, Jack. There are going to be defenders out there that they can pick up. And, of course, the defensive backs went quick last night. The two top defensive backs were taken off the board before, Dallas even got to the pick. So if they were thinking about taking a defensive back, that option was taken away from them right away. But, hey, listen, Parsons will be a good addition to the Cowboys. And, I thought the Giants might pick him up too. But the Cowboys went ahead and took him. And, we'll see what happens with the Giants pick this year. So.
Well, Kadarius Toney, who they took, at number 20, is, playmaker. I mean, they could run a lot of play action passes with him. He's explosive, very fast, can return kicks. I mean, he's a supposed other weapon that they can have. he adds that element, with speed to the Giants. And I see the point now the more we talk about Devonta Smith, because the Giants did wind up taking a wide receiver, with that pick. Everyone thought they'd be taking an edge rusher. Some of them were available, and they passed, on that. I mean, I really like Travis Etienne, the Clemson running back who went number 25 to Jacksonville. And ironically, he's joining Trevor Lawrence, his college teammate at Jacksonville. But as we said last night, running backs seem to be devalued in the NFL. Jim Jeffcoat feels it's because of the injury factor. They don't last as long. But in today's NFL, unless it's a quarterback or just about any position, you can't count on a guy to maybe last 10 years. You have to think if he's going to give you a few years, you go with it. And this is an element that no one talks about. So many GMs and coaches are picking for now, not for tomorrow, because they're concerned about holding on their jobs. So many of them on the hot seat that they can't afford to really look into the future, take a flyer on a guy as a number one pick who's going to be a project. They're not so secure in their jobs, so they have to worry about winning. Now, that's why a lot of these GMs, they trade away future number one picks because they figure if I don't win now, I'm not going to be around for those number one picks. So if I win now, I don't have them later. At least I'll have my job later, and I'll worry about it at the time.
That's a great point, Jack. So let's talk a little bit. It doesn't look like Byron will make it in today at a late night like we did. And he's behind us. It's
Are you saying Byron's hungover, Matt? I don't believe it. Byron's a family man. No, he's not that way.
Yeah,
no. Byron's not that way.
But he is in a couple. Well, look at just as I say the name, Jack, Byron Williams, our NFL analyst, pops in backstage right now. So for those people who don't know, Byron Williams, it's you have to go back in time a little bit, even though he's active in the NFLPA right now. A very dynamic receiver for the Giants, played for the Eagles and a few other teams, was the number one receiver in the WFL, also played in the CFL. So we're going to bring Byron in here, and I got the banner from last night. And this really is cool to me because the guy they picked, the Giants picked, reminds me a lot of Byron Williams. So let's bring him up. How you doing today, Byron?
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing?
We're hanging in there. Byron. Glad you could make it in. Byron, we were, you tried to come on early on the show last night, but the Giants dropped down and made an impressive move to me, picking up the Bears' number one draft pick the following next year. I mean, that was a heck of a move. And they
also got a number 4 and number 5 out of it. They got that additional draft capital.
Yes, they did. So here you have Kadarius Toney, Byron, who last year had almost 1,000 yards in pass receptions, 10 touchdowns. Very dynamic, very fast. He's got great moves. They say he may have a little problems with his hands every now and then. It reminds me of another wide receiver when he first came to the Giants. Had to go to concentration classes. But I mean, I look at this guy, Byron, and I watched film of him before the draft, and I was saying, man, this guy's a playmaker, a lot of speed, and reminded me a lot of you when you came to the Giants. What do you think about the pick?
Yeah, no doubt. They had some great talent in this draft, and this guy was under the radar because Kyle Pitt was getting a lot of height, and they were looking at him. But I did a little research on him. He ran a 4.39. He had the 7th best, fastest time out of the combine, and I think he still got a lot of more potential. So he hadn't seen his best yet. And like you said, he reminded me of me. I mean, I ran a 4.35, but I did get down to a 4.23 and a 4.28. So if he could continue to work hard, and I think he's a hard worker, just by doing some research on him, I think this might be the sneak of the draft. He was under the radar.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I was looking at the wide receivers, and I thought the Giants were going to go with one more weapon. Of course, I saw Devontae Smith and I saw Waddle, but I did see Tony's name, and when I clicked on it, I saw him take one of those quick screens out by at the end position, and he just turned on the jets and was gone. He can blow by you if you try to play him too tight. He doesn't. He looks like he's a little physical too for his size. So I mean, again, I remember some of the plays you made for the Giants, making some of the catches and breaking through, and it did remind me a lot of you. And with the Giants, I mean, everybody complains about David Gettleman, but what a deal he got with Chicago, picking up a receiver that might be a dynamic addition to Giants, but get those draft picks too, Byron.
I think they made a wise decision, and it's all about making those decisions like that. And I believe they gonna be very, very competitive. I mean, the Giants was in almost every game last year. I think now they added some additional couple of receivers just in the offseason. I mean, they had, I think they made a tremendous assigned free agents this year. I think they had the best free agent group out of the day. I think they consider to have an A class of free agents this year with all the guys, John Ross and Kenny Galladay and those guys. I mean, they added some key components.
Rudolph.
Yeah, Kyle Rudolph at tight end, and so Devontae Booker. They got some good free agents this year. So,
you mentioned about Tony of running a 4.35. You know better than me. Isn't there a bit of a difference between time speed and football speed? Some guys are very fast on the field, but if you clock them, they're not going to be as fast. I recall a wide receiver. I think you probably played against him, was up around your time. World-class hurdler, Skeets Nehemiah. Awful wide receiver to me. He never really caught on with the Niners. They gave him a lot of time to get it right, and he just wasn't a natural football player, but he may have been the best athlete in the NFL while he played.
Exactly. And it's one thing to run fast, but it's another thing to convert it back to the football speed that you're talking about. And I think, too, that's why these receivers that's coming in need to know the fact that there's you can run fast on the football field, but sometimes you run too fast, you get knocked out by defensive backs because you're there too quick, and it's all about the timing, and you and the quarterback need to be on the same page and things like that. But also, I think another thing with me was I was a good blocker. I had all the blocking assignment as a receiver because I bench press 360 pounds. A lot of people don't know that, but you have special receivers that can go in and block. But also with Tony, he can play the inside too. He can play slot receiver, which is going to be really good. So I think that's going to be a big advantage because the Giants really do need a good slot receiver. And if you look at all the successful NFL teams, they have good slot receivers, and because they can beat people all over the place, especially using your tight ends and your outside receivers. Because now you only have that key running back. So now when you add all these dimensional players and versatile players, you in for a good success. So if you can average 30 to 32 points per game in NFL, your chance of winning these games will be very, very good.
Well, Byron, when they got Tony, my mind went right to the four wide, right? So you got Galladay, Slayton on the outside, and you got Shepard and Tony on the slots. I mean, that's going to be very hard to cover if Jones can get that ball away and get some time. I mean, you're talking four dynamic receivers that can even match up to some of the best receiving crews in the league. So, again, we're talking about the Giants offense again this year. Let's see if they can put it together, which they didn't do last year. So a big thing. Now, what do you think, Devontae Smith, you talked a lot about. The Eagles pick him up, and I think the Giants dropped down as soon as the Eagles went up because they knew they were going to go after Devontae Smith. So they said, the heck with it. We're dropping down and we'll see what we can pick up down there. So Devontae Smith goes to the Eagles. A big draft for them, don't you think?
Oh yeah, no doubt. The Eagles need a receiver really bad. And Devontae Smith. The key thing for him is to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he will be an exciting player in the NFL. I just can't wait to see what he's gonna do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
does he have the right quarterback? Because Jalen Hurts isn't one of the bigger throwers, in the NFL. I mean, he's more, play action guy, And Devonta Smith is a great deep threat, but Jalen Hurts, I mean, he's not like Justin Herbert as far as, being able to stretch the field. Even though I think Jalen Hurts is going to prove himself to be a good NFL quarterback, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be an elite passer.
Yeah. And I just, I'm just wanting to see how they going to position him in the offensive setting, on how they be able to move him around. Because every now and then you get double team with the in and out defensive backs. But when they bring these special dime nickels sets of defensive backs in, and if they double him, will he be able to get, because the NFL, that first 5 yards off the line of scrimmage is going to define how successful you're going to become in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with that. The thing I think where he will help out is when Hurts breaks the pocket and he's on the run and they run. That drill, the scramble drill, where they either go deep or come to the guy. Devontae Smith is athletic enough to make those adjustments on the fly with Hurst when he ends up scrambling. And as you know, I did with my receivers and they do here. You always practice the scramble drill because it's going to happen. And the defense is concentrating on the quarterback and the wide receivers can get wide open if they do the drill right. So that would be important, I think.
He's going to have to block too on some of these drills, right? And I don't see Devonta Smith. He's just going to get pushed aside, if he's going to have to block much.
Well, I think he'll probably add 5 to 10 pounds real quickly if he get in a good program. But the good thing about Devontae Smith is that he makes some adjustments on the football field, and them playing that championship game. The first half he had a heart like no other. So it's also about maturing as well and making those adjustments. So hopefully the receiver coach and the offensive coordinator can put him in a position of where he can, be very effective.
Byron, talking about the rest of the NFL, we talked about San Francisco at length. And the move they made, and I don't care, what quarterback you want. And what you're going to get, what your decision is. But there is a price to pay with the draft picks that you give up to move to that slot. Were you surprised as us? I mean, they moved all the way up to the third slot, and it looked like they were going to take Fields, and they were talking about, Wilson, and all of a sudden they come back to Trey, and he's only played 17 games. He looks like he's about 13 years old. He looks like a kid, I mean, it just seems to me that the 49ers went up there defensively the past couple of years. They've made some unbelievable moves on defense, but I don't understand this pick at all. I mean, I know you got Jimmy there maybe to help him along, but Jimmy gets hurt a lot. And, Jimmy still needs to grow. Garoppolo still needs to grow, I think. He's still not all the way where he could be at. So, can you make sense of this for us? Do you understand why they did what they did?
Well, Shanahan, he's a special coach. And I think they were saying last night, too, that when they played Kansas City a couple of years ago, he was reminded of the kind of quarterback he think he wanted and he needs. So I think he's getting ready to maybe try to position this quarterback to play like Kansas City Chiefs, have that type of offense, have a quarterback that can do some virtual things and can throw. But this kid Trey Lance is very young, and I think if he gets in the right system, that he can grow into the type of quarterback that you want. And I think the 49ers just did their homework, and they was probably talking about Matt Jones. and all the media was hitting about Matt Jones, but I think they knew what they wanted to do from the get-go. I think they positioned themselves to get this quarterback, and they were said that they want to build that team around Trey Lance, even though he don't have the experience, but he's the prototype that they're looking for. So I think now these quarterbacks, these coaches can get these players that they think they need on their team to build a team to go to the Super Bowl. So, and that's the only thing I can say, because I think when they go and they test these guys out in the combines and the pro days and things like that, they really see the potential in these players, and so evidently that's what they saw.
Let me tell you, the 49er quarterback room is going to be crowded. No one talks about Josh Rosen is still with the 49ers. And the 49ers picked up Nate Sudfeld from the Eagles, the guy who couldn't move the ball the last game, where they felt the Eagles practically threw the game. They didn't throw the game, of course, but he was totally ineffective.
According to the Giants fan, they threw that game, and I agree with the Giants fan. They threw that game.
Well, yeah, whatever. But the point is, imagine this scenario happened. It's a little bit of a long shot, but it's possible. It really is possible. Let's say Josh Rosen puts it all together. Let's say he finally puts it all together. He's sharp with the playbook. He dedicates his life to football. He could conceivably come out and be the best of the three. Can you imagine that over Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, that they had their guy all along? I mean, it's a long shot. Josh Rosen was drafted very highly 3 years ago.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Jack, but I'm telling you now, I think Josh got a confidence problem. And I think that's one of the things that's the intangible thing that people don't understand. You know, he's going to be considered as a bust, like the kid that went to the Raiders back in the day. Some guys are just a bust. I mean, Josh Rosen did have the potential, and some players are good college players, and they just can't make that next step up.
Yeah, I agree.
He done 3 years. If you ain't done nothing in 3 years, I don't know if you're gonna be the one.
Whoa! I said that about Sam Darnold, and Mac at least was saying, "Oh, give Sam an opportunity. Let's see what he could do." He didn't do much in 3 years.
But you got two different case scenarios. Sam Darnold was injured. Josh Rosen hadn't been injured. I mean, he just hadn't done nothing.
Josh Rosen took a pounding in Arizona his first year. The offensive line was poor. It was very hard to succeed in that scenario.
But you thinking that Josh Rosen going to be very competitive at San Francisco?
No, listen, I'm just saying someone of that ability, drafted that highly, thought that high of, maybe once in a while they put it all together finally. Listen, Doug Flutie got off to a slow start in his NFL career. There have been guys like that who it takes them a few years, to get it going, and then they finally do.
Doug came up to Canada and got some reps in and got his confidence in, and he knew the nature of the game. He knew the flip side of the game, and the game is about timing, confidence. I'm telling you, you got to have that confidence. And once you get to Josh Rosen, don't have it right now. I don't see him being.
You know what it is, Byron. Byron, you know what it is. Jack loves Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers will not be playing football anymore. So he's got to find another quarterback to hook into. And he talks about Josh Rosen all the time. Nobody else talks about Josh Rosen. But Jack likes Josh Rosen.
Let me tell you, they could put a package together, the Giants, to get Aaron Rodgers. You put Mac Jones in there, Evan Ingram, your number one last year, and one of your other good players, and you get Aaron Rodgers to come over to the Giants. They're contending for the Super Bowl.
Jack would change allegiance from the Jets to the Giants if they did that, I think. So anyway, Byron.
Hey, let me say this, Matt. Let me say this. Josh Rosen is a reliever quarterback.
Yes.
He needs to probably maybe think about trying to pitch or something to go to Major League Baseball.
There you go.
Right now, he's more mop-up reliever when the team is losing 9-1. You put him in to throw an inning.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's one thing I meant to ask you, Byron Mack. Could I ask him just one thing? This is what I can never understand. If a team is winning by a big margin and you put in your reserves who don't get to play much, why does a team have to play conservatively because they're scared of insulting the opposition? Let them throw the ball. Let them work on things. Nothing beats game competition. Instead, they hand the ball off. They go very conservative because they don't want to hurt the other team's feelings. It drives me crazy. Let them work on things. Let them work on flea flickers even, whatever.
That's the integrity of the game. That's just part of the game. They believe in having the integrity, and that part is the integrity. But you just have to get the players out there to get some reps because now that they can get their confidence up. But mainly, it's mainly you don't do nothing like that because of the integrity. The game is over with. Now you're just trying to get your key players some rest and not no injuries and things like that because it's injuries too that factor in. So players want to be healthy going into the last end of the season.
Yeah, Byron. I mean, Jack is one of those guys, like if the boxer knocks him down, he should stand over the top of him and keep hitting him, so instead of letting him up, because, why not just pulverize the guy, knock him out so he can't get back up again?
No, listen. Jimmy Johnson said it best years ago. They threw the ball when they felt they weren't supposed to. And he said, well, what are we supposed to do? Keep taking a knee? Because they'll hand the ball off, turn it over to the other team. But the team that's down 31 points, they're allowed to throw the ball. But the team that's up 31 points isn't allowed to throw the ball because they're going to insult the opposition.
Right.
To me, it never made sense.
Well, to me, it makes sense. If you play the game, it makes sense. You don't want to rub nobody's nose and how bad they are. And as you said, Byron, injury is a big key because I'm telling you right now, when the team was beating us bad, I was upset. And not only was I hitting people, I was hitting people extra hard because I was very mad that we were losing. And when you're winning, you're not rubbing it into the team and bragging, but you're like, hey, you guys aren't as good as us, and that makes the situation grow a lot more heated out in the field. And that's when the fights start breaking out, especially when the other team is beating you bad because you get very frustrated. So I understand the rule. I understand what coaches do 100%.
Yeah, and I went to my high school game last year, and they was beating them 50 to 7 or something in the third quarter, and these kids just started fighting on the football field. And it's the integrity of the game. You don't want to rub it in the nose, and you already beat them. So everybody in the stands and everybody that's looking at the game, you beat the crap out of them. So.
Byron, your grandson scores a touchdown late in the game with his team up 5 touchdowns, and he spikes the ball, slams it down. You give him a $20 bill. You're proud of that. You have 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm gonna reward him for success. I'm not gonna reward him for nothing that's stupid though. But I'm teaching my grandson the integrity of the game. I think that's gonna go longer than anything else.
You got to also teach him the end zone pose. That's the big thing with the players today. All getting together. That's what they work on. Can you believe it? Instead of talking football strategy, they're amongst themselves. What are we going to do? Some of them are going to act like they're bowling. The others are going to, do a gymnastics thing. I mean, whoever has the best gimmick, that's.
But this what going to happen, though, Jack. Mac and I going to come up with the best touchdown act of the year, and we're going to get famous for that.
Yes.
Because it's all about what? How many hits and stuff on social media. So
that's exactly right.
We need to come up with.
We'll make it viral, Byron. We'll make it go viral. So
exactly.
Byron, again, we appreciate you coming, and we love having you, and especially having that NFL experience and talking to us about the game, which a lot of our guests really haven't not played at your level anyway. And guys, Byron was something else. I remember him playing with the Giants, and one of the biggest threats we had. As we built a Super Bowl team. And again, I think it was a great pickup for the Giants. The wide receiver there reminds me a lot of Byron. He's got a lot of football speed, and he's got just pure speed. And maybe he'll do something for the Giants. Byron, again, thank you for coming in. We'll see you next week. And, the second rounds are coming, Byron. Maybe we pick up a few more good players. Maybe the Eagles do real good to pick up a few players.
Got to look at the list of long snappers who's available.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are great. Hey, enjoy the rest of the draft and have a great football weekend. Let's celebrate.
Yes, sir, Byron.
Right.
Yes, sir. Have a good one, my friend.
All right.
So there you go, Jack. Byron Williams with his visit. I love it when he comes in, giving us a perspective that a lot of guests can't actually play in the NFL and being successful. So also, as I said, involved in the NFL, PA, the National Football Players Association. He's still in touch with the league, and he's still in touch with the Giants right now. So it's great having him on. So, folks, we're going to take our first break for the day. We'll be right back on the other side with Keith Angle, who was part of the draft with us last night. He does an awesome job, and he'll be on. He's having his show is going right now, and he'll be up right after his show. So stick with us. Plenty of more sports left. Let me see. Jack, maybe instead of putting the background up, I put the overlay on. Look at that. Holy God, I'm getting good at this. We'll be right back, folks.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Infoline. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Try.
morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on live Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Jack, with your co-host, the legendary boxing writer himself, Jack Hirsch. And after a late last night NFL draft show, we're here early in the morning for you because we're not going to let you guys down, not putting the show on for any reason, Jack. Yeah, and
Yeah, well, this is the show, Mac, that you could hear, about the draft. You could hear about players getting injured. You could hear about the NHL, the NBA. There's other sports news, but obviously the draft is dominating the news, so that's going to be the focus of the show today. And even tomorrow, we have rounds 2 and 3. Let's not forget that. There's still some nice names out there. And we're going to see which teams address their needs. For example, the Buffalo Bills missed out on the 2 key running backs, Harris and Etienne, and they need a running back. Are they going to address it, this evening? And, we'll see. There's a lot of work to be done with these teams. As fans, we're done, in a way we are done with the NFL draft because the big picks went. But they're key picks in rounds 2 and 3. A lot of starters. We're going to form nucleus of teams that are going to be picked tonight. And even tomorrow when you have rounds 4 to 7.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Jack. A lot of the players that become starters are picked through 3 through 5. Even sometimes even a 7th rounder gets in there, surprises everybody. I imagine these players are maybe even a little more hungry than the ones taken in the first couple of rounds because they got a lot to prove. And we even have walk-ins that will be coming in, the unrestricted, the free agents, the rookie free agents that will be coming in and trying out. And there's been some great ones that have actually become Hall of Famers that were walk-ins. Kurt Warner comes to mind right away. The linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm having a brain freeze right now, who actually became one of the most dominating linebackers in the NFL in his era, and he had interception, returned it in the Super Bowl for a touchdown. There's some historically great players. I had a list one time, Jack, of these guys that weren't even picked in the draft, and you'd be surprised. Victor Cruz comes to mind too, of these guys that became MVPs, star players for their teams, and went on to have unbelievable NFL careers. So it doesn't just end with the draft, Jack.
Well, no, it doesn't. But logically speaking, okay, we got for every Tom Brady in the 6th round, tons of guys don't make the team who are picked in the 6th round. 7th round draft picks are normally very expendable. You take a flyer on a guy, maybe you get lucky. Same way with some free agent signing. A rule of thumb, a 1st round draft pick has to start for you. Absolutely has to. You're drafting him to be a starter to play. 2nd round draft pick, the same. 3rd round draft pick, you probably are looking at a starter. Once you get to the 4th round, it's iffy. 4th round draft picks usually make the team, but unlike the first 3 picks, they're not a sure thing. 5th round picks are they're a 50-50 proposition to make the team. And once you get 6th and 7th round, it gets to be very iffy. It's hard to make the team, but of course they can. And then there are the free agent signings. Of course, you're always going to get a gem. You're always going to get someone who slips under the radar for the simple reason that player improves a lot a year later. After he joins the team, you might draft him and pick him up as a free agent. All of a sudden, he puts it all together. And you had no evidence he would be that good, beforehand.
Yeah, a lot of the guys that end up coming in as tryout guys or that get down in the low rounds are normally from the smaller schools and the lower divisions where the competition isn't great. I remember, Brandon Jacobs for the Giants was a monster, and he was from a Division II school. So, these are guys that the scouting departments are really doing their job with. It's not so much the first round. Me and you and Keith could look at these big schools and say, wow, this guy could be a star in the NFL. But when you start getting into Division II and III schools, or schools that are very small, we don't know who they are. So it's a surprise to us. But if you have a good scouting department, it's not really a surprise to them. They don't have to go up in the first 2 rounds and grab these guys because nobody's looking at them but you. So, I mean, this is where the scouting departments, they make their money. So with that being said, let's bring in Keith. He's backstage right now. Keith Engel from TGI Sports. Tremendous job last night. He did with us, and I had no doubt he wouldn't. So let's bring Keith aboard. How you doing this morning, Keith?
Good morning, guys. Jack, did you go to bed?
Yeah. Well, listen, does this look like I have a different shirt on?
It looks like all you did was change your shirt. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
Yeah, it was a long night, but it was fun, guys.
I had a blast.
Doing our first NFL draft show. Maybe next year, maybe we'll change it up a little bit. I don't know. It was a long night, but I had a lot of fun. I'm pretty good this morning. I got a double shift ahead of me, but I mean, I feel pretty good. No more tired than I normally am. So
Mac is done talking about the draft. He wants to talk about the Knicks, the NHL. That's what he wants to talk to you about.
Pickleball.
Quickly,
I think
how he's
pickleball is
developing
coming up
it
the
on.
finals.
You know, whether Randall should be in the running for MVP. That's what Mac wants to talk about today.
Well, first we got to talk about the draft. That's the biggest news in sports.
We should only talk about the draft, Mac. The heck with the other stuff today. That's the big news.
No, because I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of other sports going on, and playoff pitchers are up, and to me, that's just as big as the NFL draft. But let's start over there in the AFC East. We covered the NFC East pretty much with Byron. The Jets get Zach Wilson. They get Tucker, the big offensive guard who can play tackle. I mean, 2 great picks for the Jets. Again, I don't know if Zach Wilson is an improvement over Sam Darnold, but he's young. He's got will have a smaller contract, and it's a new team, new head coach. So maybe that was the right move to make. And of course, the Pats picked up your favorite player, Mac Jones.
Love Mac Jones, future Hall of Famer. I'm sure of it.
Belichick talked about it yesterday. We speculated what he'd say.
Oh, we knew what he'd say.
Straight out and said Cam Newton's our starter.
Yeah, I expected
right. There's no competition for the job. Cam Newton's our starter.
You'll hear that until a week before the first game, or maybe 2 days before the first game.
I agree with that. Belichick is pretty consistent, if nothing else, with the way he deals with the press.
Yeah.
Listen, Mac Jones played for a really good team. Maybe that helped him out being a quarterback. But of course, playing on a good team, you've got to be a good quarterback, or you wouldn't be starting there. So it's kind of, you can look at it from both ways. Keith, very young looking guy. He maybe even look a little younger than Trey over there at San Francisco. I mean, both of them look like they're not even in their late teens. So. You got a young quarterback right now over there to either play this year or get some work and maybe start next year for you, whatever way Belichick wants to go. But it does fulfill your need to get a quarterback. I think he does end up starting this year sometime.
I do think that he's probably one of the when I say mature, I don't mean necessarily from a character standpoint. I mean from a playing standpoint, and he may be one of the guys most ready to play. Trey Lance, I cannot see playing right away. I mean, you look at him just physically, he doesn't look like he's ready to play, right? But definitely, it's funny. I hope that you can't hear the guy mowing the lawn. He mows his lawn about once every 3 months, and he's obviously mowing his lawn today. But I think it's possible. It's more likely that he will play if he plays well in camp. That Belichick will probably still start Cam to start the season and start working Jones in. And by midseason, he could be the starter. This team's built to win right now. They didn't make all these moves in free agency to wait 3 years for Mac Jones to play quarterback. It may not happen opening day, but it's going to happen. We're not far from the Mac Jones era.
How quick do you think the hook will be, Keith? I mean, if you guys start off 0-2, does Mac Jones get thrown in there, or
I
do you
think that's quite possible. I think that's quite possible. And I'm not ruling out the fact that he may start from day one. It's possible.
I don't think Belichick's looking to groom Mac Jones, and I don't think this is a type of situation where they want him to get more experience and then look to move him in at a certain time. I think Belichick's the type of coach, whoever can win for me next week, that's the guy I'm playing. Kind of what Parcells did when he coached the Cowboys. Jerry Jones wanted Drew Henson to quarterback, and Bill Parcells, pulled Henson. He played Vinny Testaverde because he thought for that one particular week, Testaverde gave him the best chance to win. And whoever Belichick believes that week could win for him, the heck with the feelings. If it's Jason Stidham that week, that's who he'll go with. Yeah, that's my feeling. I don't think Mac Jones is in a normal young quarterback situation where Justin is going to get groomed a little bit.
Jack froze a little bit there. Yeah, they're in a win now situation. As we said, all the money that they spent. Belichick's 71 years old. He's not looking to rebuild his team. He wants to win now. And so Mac Jones had better be ready to play, because if he's not, the team's no better off than they were before last night. So, but I'm willing to, I'm on the board. I'm on board. Let's go. Let's start the Mac Jones era now, today. Let's go.
Well, you figure right now, Keith, Pats make that move. Buffalo's going to be strong. Miami looked good last year. You guys look like with the offseason moves that you're ready to get up there and compete with these guys.
Tough.
Yeah, I mean, it really is going to be. The Jets made a couple interesting moves. I think good moves, especially picking up Tucker. I watched film of Tucker before the draft. He's a monster. He's really an aggressive blocker, and the Jets really need to get that running game going, especially with a young quarterback. They got to have a running game, or he's going to get killed too, I think, because their offensive line isn't the best, and their weapons aren't the best either right now. Who knows what they're going to do in the next rounds? I would imagine they're going to go play and get some wide receivers. That would make sense to me.
With all the talent in that division, Mac, I mean, I think the Jets are going to have some growing pains, because the other three teams are ready to win today. I mean, we know how good the Bills are. We saw what the Dolphins matured into last year, and they're going to be much better this year. So it's going to be, and the Patriots are probably third pick in that division with everything that they've done. And the Jets are going to struggle they'll play better, but it's going to be an uphill battle for them. They're not, it's going to be a couple years for them.
I agree
detouring back, guys, to Mac Jones just very quickly. It's going to be a lot different when he gets on the center for the Patriots. He had all this high-powered talent at Alabama, and he's not going to have those same type of players, surrounding him. Familiarity means a lot. Even for someone like Trevor Lawrence, just the idea he has his star running back, Travis Etienne, there in the backfield. I mean, that's a big source, logically, I think, to a quarterback.
Yeah, but again, remember the Patriots upgraded their roster a lot. The skill position players in free agency. They already had a maturing back in Harris, who I think is going to be, if he stays healthy, is going to really take a step forward this year. With the wide receivers they brought in, the two tight ends they brought in, James White is still a force in that backfield, and he's the type of guy that can really help a young quarterback like Mac Jones, because he just contributes in so many ways. I think you cannot say the Patriots are not. I mean, they may not have the talent that the Bills have yet, but we're not done with this draft either. Belichick's got a bunch of draft picks here, second, third, fourth rounds that he can fill some holes with. I see him helping that defense more now. The offensive line and the defense is where he's got to focus here, I think, now going forward. I think the biggest wide receiver somewhere.
I think the biggest thing was them picking up the two tight ends, Keith, because if you think about football today, and in the past too, because we act like it's something new, it's really not. to have a good tight end to be able to check down to, or to to pick up that 5-6 yards instead of trying to read a receiver coming over the middle or going deep in double coverage is a huge comfort to a quarterback, especially a young quarterback. Even if you look, you look at over in Dallas, you had Romo to Witten, and then even when Dak Prescott came in, you saw him throwing to Witten a lot. I mean, when he first started, it wasn't like he was, heaving the ball down the field all the time. He had that nice little tight end that could catch the ball and keep the drives alive. I think the biggest move the Patriots made, never mind the wide receivers, was picking up the 2 tight ends.
Yeah, I agree. And your comment, you're ahead of me there, and that the tight ends can really help a young guy. I mean, it gives them a safety valve that they need. And I don't see Mac Jones coming out here and running this offense like Tom Brady did before he left, right? And throwing the ball 50 times a game. I see him start like Tom Brady in 2001, managing games, and the Patriots playing that ball control offense more that they used to play then. If you remember how they played in the early 2000s, the first part of this dynasty, they didn't throw the ball 50 times a game. They played good defense. They got ahead of teams, and they pounded the ball running it in the fourth quarter. And that's how they won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Exactly. And I see a return to that type of style potentially this year.
Well, hopefully there's an Adam Vinatieri out there somewhere that they can get all.
Well, that's the other thing. Nick Folk, might have been not Nick. What's his? Who's my kicker?
Don't ask me.
It is Nick Folk. Yeah,
I think it is too. But don't ask me, Keith. I'm sure not a Patriot expert.
It is Nick Folk. Yes.
Yes. So,
had a great year last year. I don't expect that this year, though. I mean, kickers are notorious for coming back with horrible years after good years, unless you're Adam Vinatieri.
Right. I mean, those kind of kickers are far and few between, and a lot of people give Brady a lot of credit for, and even the Patriots. But man, if you guys didn't have Adam Vinatieri, you probably wouldn't have been in 2 of those Super Bowls.
Oh, look at I'm a Patriot fan who recognizes the fact that they won their first 3 Super Bowls on Adam Vinatieri field goals. So
yeah, he really put
does Adam Vinatieri go into the Hall of Fame as a Patriot or a Colt?
Oh, Patriot.
There's no question. Question.
And I don't even think it's not like you wear a cap or a helmet like you do in baseball. I don't think so. I don't think there's even a decision to be made. But I'm guessing his presenter will be a Patriot. My guess.
I would agree with that. So now with the Patriots on defense, as you talked about, the defense has always been Belichick's scheme, his thing since he started with the Giants. He's always come up with schemes and stuff to stop other offensives. Last year, of course, the Patriots defense, you had a lot of guys that sat out because of COVID. You had some players that just weren't playing up to par with the Patriots normally play. I don't blame Belichick for that at all. I think that was just one of those years. And it's not like you guys only won 1 game last year. You guys were still competitive in most of the games you played. What do they do this year on defense, Keith? Do they take, they're getting a lot of those players back? Are they staying pat? Or I think they got to go get a couple defensive backs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so too. Jason McCourty wasn't signed as a free agent, but his brother's still there and still a very good player. J.C. Jackson, the question is, did he sleep at all? I think is the question. Yes. My guess is he just got in.
Right. Yeah, good morning.
I think he was the MVP of the show yesterday. All he had to contribute, he contributed some real valuable stuff to our NFL draft special. So kudos to Pags.
Yeah, I agree. Back to the Patriots defense. You got to remember, they've added Hightower, so it's like with all the guys, they made some additions in free agency on the defensive side of the ball as well. But you've also got Hightower coming back from sitting out last year. They brought Kyle Van Noy back from the Dolphins, a very versatile linebacker, the kind of guy that Parcells loves. I've been doing this for 3 days. Call him Belichick Parcells. I don't know what it is.
Because
that Belichick loves.
Because you know who the greatest coach of history really is, Keith. So don't feel bad about it. Go ahead.
Well, he's a great coach, one of the worst people in history, but he's a great coach. Yes.
Yes.
I sat next to him at a bar in Saratoga, New York, because he's a big horse racing fan. He's got a home in Saratoga. and he's the biggest jerk you ever want to meet. I swear to God.
Oh yeah, I believe that.
But
Yeah, you were harassing him, I'm sure. I mean,
I just
why?
said hi.
I mean,
Yeah,
he was about to put down some money on a horse. You want to talk football with him that moment when he's concentrating. What do you expect?
I did ask him. Did you actually think Rick Meyer was better than Drew Bledsoe? And that was the end of the conversation. So
yeah. I mean, listen. Let me tell you, I've been in touch with Coach Parcells off air through text, and yes, he is a little full of himself. He is a little cocky, but he has every right to be. I mean, if I could be a coach and make 4 different teams in 2 divisions into Super Bowl contenders in about 1 or 2 years, I'd be a little bit cocky too. So
I've always said he's a great coach. I'll never take anything away from him as a coach. He's a great coach.
And before we push on, Pags, I want to thank you for all the work you did yesterday. I mean, you couldn't hear us outside with all those fans screaming and yelling, but it was exciting for it to be on the show, being live from the draft. We saw you in there acting the fool when you got inside. Even taking the spotlight away from the Cowboy super fans, which I loved. I loved you getting in front of them and pulling the camera away from them. So have a good. We'll bring you on if you're sure.
Bring him on.
Yes, let me. I'll send you the link, Pags, and you guys go ahead and keep talking about how great the Patriots will be this year.
I just hope I just hope he's not in a jail cell or something. That's all.
Well, I don't think. Well, maybe they can come in from the jail. I'm not sure. Let's see if we.
Listen, I think just to continue the wrap up the Patriots. I think their defense will be fine. I expect him to pick some cornerbacks today. I expect him to maybe go with a wide receiver and maybe even a running back, but he's going to concentrate on the defensive side of the football and maybe the O-line mostly today, I think.
I'll tell you what was interesting with the draft. I mean, after Denver took Teddy Bridgewater, the thought was they might still take Justin Fields if available. And they could have had Justin Fields straight out. He never would have went to the Bears. The Giants wouldn't have had that deal in place. So it's interesting the way the draft fell on the Teddy Bridgewater deal.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously Denver does like Drew Gill.
Yeah.
You're going to see what happens between him and Teddy Bridgewater. To me, it sounds strategy, okay? But it's interesting that Chicago wanted Justin Fields so badly as their franchise quarterback, and Denver could have had him as their franchise quarterback. And 2 organizations that took different approaches as far as Justin Fields went.
It's probably a bad omen for Justin Fields because he probably couldn't end up in a worse situation than the Bears, I think. I just worry about his development there.
What's Nick Foles still doing there? The quarterback room is too crowded. You don't need 2 vets there like Dalton and, a Super Bowl hero and Nick Foles, on the team together. I mean, they've got to move on from Nick Foles, the Bears, at this point. But Nick Foles,
they need to move him back to Philadelphia. Eagles need somebody to take care of his trophy. I think Nick Foles should take care of his own. His statue. He should take care of his own statue.
A great segue. Jack isn't aware that was a segue. So let's bring in the Philly sports guy as we talk about Nick Foles. How we doing, Pat? It's good to see you.
Good morning, gentlemen.
That's a good-looking hat, Pags.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I got in like around 2:00 in the morning because they stopped running taxis and Ubers here. So it was like after the draft, it was almost like I had to walk home. And you can't hitchhike when you're all painted up like an eagle with shoulder pads on. They think you're crazy.
Yeah, well, pretty much Pretty much the people of Cleveland would leave you alone walking down the street looking like that, for the most part. You got a few crazies down there. But listen, Pags, we saw you get in finally to the draft. I said I'd love the way you took the shine away from Dallas. A super fan stepping right in front of them. That was perfect. And, of course, they went to you a couple times. When you were outside, I know you couldn't hear us. I mean, the fans were going absolutely bonkers out there.
Yeah, it really was a lot of fun. The energy was great. Cleveland, even in the rain, I mean, it was obviously you could see that I almost looked like a drowned rat, and it was, but it didn't really deter anybody. It didn't stop people from being excited, and it was a lot of fun. And Cleveland did a really good job on keeping everybody socially distant as best as possible. In the area that we were in, everybody was vaccinated. So it was very specific. In other areas, they kept them, you were allowed to be up against the rail, and then there was another rail that was 6 foot away. So they were doing their best to try to keep everybody as separate as possible. But it's so hard to do when you have an event like this, and you have, I mean, literally they were saying that there was about 40 to 50,000 people that were there.
Yeah. I mean, it looked crazy out there.
Yeah, it did look crazy.
I saw you getting the fans kind of pumped up, which was awesome too. I mean, you guys moved up to get Davante, to get him, and I know the Giants were probably going there, and that's why you guys did that. A good move, but you ended up giving Dallas Parsons, and you ended up the Giants still came out of it pretty good. I mean, they got a very exciting receiver out of Florida. And a first-round draft pick to boot from the Bears. Good move by the Eagles, or do you think they should have stayed on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, I mean, I know everybody wanted this pick, and not watching enough college football, I can't say whether this guy is going to be the what everybody thinks he's going to be.
Great player.
And that's the hard part. I mean, he did win a lot of hardware, so, and sometimes, drive, outdoes talent all the time. So we'll see if it really is a good pick and if it was worthwhile. I found it interesting that they dealt with Dallas. And I guess it was to try to screw over the Giants, and when you're trying to screw over a team in your own division, you're sometimes the enemy of your enemy is your friend, and so it was kind of interesting that we only had to give up a third round pick to do that, and they got the guy who they wanted. Obviously, this was one of those situations where, at least in the public eye, they needed to do this very right. And that's exactly what they did. The public is very happy that Howie Roseman made this pick. Now, the public will also forget if this guy can't get on the field for any reason whatsoever, whether he's hurt or whether he's not as good as he claims to be or everybody thought he would be. So, and then they'll blame Howie Roseman for making this pick and trading up to get him. So it's interesting how the public will forget as quickly as they applaud.
With Micah Parsons there, I mean, you had a shot at one of the best defensive linebackers in the league, and maybe, an impact player, and you had him right in your grasp instead of taking Devontae Smith. Not to take anything. Listen, Devontae Smith was a Heisman Trophy winner. I don't think a wide receiver has done that since Tim Brown. I might be wrong, guys. It's just the one that popped into my head. But
yeah, that's right. I believe, yeah.
So, I mean, Tim Brown was unbelievable for the Raiders. So maybe it works out. But you actually had one of the best middle linebackers or outside linebackers too. I mean, he could play either way in the country in your grasp. And I don't think the Eagles are worried about what he did in high school. So it's going to be interesting to see how the linebacker Parsons plays for Dallas versus Devontae Smith, who makes the biggest impact. I think that's what the Eagle fans are going to look at, and the Dallas fans for that matter.
So I don't think so. I mean, I think that some of the baggage that that Parsons was carrying was enough to be able to turn him off, and that's why he dropped so far. I mean, he was supposed to be up higher originally, I believe, and he wound up dropping down all the way to Dallas. And it says when it comes to baggage, Dallas loves to carry that, so it's not a big deal. It's not that's something that can get lost in the mix for them over there. I know that they were very unhappy on how the draft went. They did not expect the two cornerbacks to go to the Saints, or not the Saints, to go right before them. Like, just they were really surprised.
That was a huge surprise to everybody. Yeah.
And when Denver chose Surtain, I went right up to the Dallas Cowboy fan who was closest to me, and I'm like, who do you think we're gonna pick now? He's like, I'm going home. I'm not. I stayed out here to try to get this, and now it's so he was very unhappy, and I love watching Cowboys cry.
Yes.
But listen, those third round picks. Philadelphia giving the third round pick to Dallas. Normally a third round pick can start. And, more often than not, a third round selection is going to find their way into the starting lineup. So basically, the Eagles gave the Cowboys one extra starter, and they have one less starter themselves. So that's the equivalent of two extra players, favoring Dallas to have to trade off taking Smith over Micah Parsons, okay? And it's questionable whether that move will be good. I mean, in theory, would you rather have an elite receiver or an elite linebacker? I'd rather have the elite linebacker in most cases.
Yeah, so I would go either way. The Eagles never have favored the linebacker position as a position of need. They feel that that's something that could always be patchworked in. So, and Dallas, Lee finally retired. Vander Esch is always a guy who's getting hurt. So that's something that they want and do value as a prime position, where the Eagles, value the wide receiver position much higher. I mean, this is the third year in a row that they've chosen a high wide receiver in a pick. So,
well, not only that, Max, you figure Dallas has one of the best receiving crews in the league. I mean, they already got three great wide receivers over there, so they really weren't interested in a wide receiver anyway. So Dallas really didn't lose nothing. I think you guys are going to be happy with Devontae Smith. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
You'll be happy for 15 years with Devontae Smith.
And I think all three teams made out. Dallas gets your linebacker, you get your playmaker, we get a playmaker and a first round pick. So I think all three teams in that deal, believe it or not, made out in this draft in the first round. Guys, just stick through the break with us, would you, Pags and Keith, so we can I can get up and my butt hurts. I got to get up and stretch a little bit.
Don't worry.
6 hours. Oh my God. But anyway, folks, we're going to be right back after these messages. We're going to continue on with Keith Angle from TGI Sports and, of course, the Philly sports guy live from Cleveland. So we'll be right back after these messages. Please stick around. And here we go, guys.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed. Yeah, well, Kyle's not here. How come? Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's gonna be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he gonna know?
You see kids that age really listen.
They never admit it though, but they hear more than you think.
Colin, they hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Oh, last night.
That's right. We're talking a little bit about last night here, folks. The NFL draft. Captain Jack also said he wanted to come on. I did send him a link against my better judgment.
This could be scary.
It could be very scary.
I'm just getting over being traumatized last night by Captain Jack.
Yes, it was great. Guys, Jamie, one question for you, Pags.
Sure.
Do they allow you to bring in your anything into the room itself at the draft?
In terms of
like your setup, your video for your videos and your feeds. Do they allow that in? I didn't think so.
Yeah, I everything was done via phones. So, and I have a burner phone that I use to do some videos as well and try to do some interviews and such that I don't necessarily just throw right on the lives and such. But for the most part, it's only just phones, because there's so many cameras around and they don't want you taking pictures of things you're not supposed to take pictures of, like the placards that everybody's wearing and such like that. And that's what I think they're most nervous about. They don't want anybody sneaking in to get into where they're at.
Yes, I mean, listen, I imagine you would have to probably pay for that access anyway. I imagine the network's there. That's part of the contract they signed, which, you know, we're not there yet. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. Good morning, Snowflake. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while, but we are streaming the Twitch, so we did get Snowflake in here today.
That's a new name for me. I haven't seen Snowflake before.
Yeah, he's in a lot with us. He does come into our show quite a bit, so it's good seeing you, Snowflake. Yes, the NFL draft did just happen, and you know, Tom Kelly says he thought that Pags would have commission's chair last night. We're lucky Cabs didn't end up on a bench somewhere in Cleveland jail system. You know how wild he gets out there.
Listen, it's a long weekend, so
yes.
And it's interesting because obviously I didn't get in before the pick, and they were very particular on how they deal with things. So it was once, and it's kind of like the Oscars. I think I mentioned that yesterday. The moment somebody leaves, they want to have that seat filled. The moment I came in, all of the super fans that know me are like, "You made it," and like all came up, gave me hugs and stuff like that. It impressed the NFL so much that the one girl come up to one of the producers is like, "Listen, you on Saturday, I need to get you up on stage for a little while, just so that you can. We're going to be doing some different events, and we want some super fans up there. And your energy was just amazing, you walking in the door, and so I want to get you up there." So, it's interesting when you get noticed, and of course the camera loves to find the handsome guys. You know what I mean? So,
right,
and it got me on there a few times. So
yes.
Well
I mean, You are very handsome, Pags, as we all know. And of course, we just brought in Captain Jack with their pick with the Raiders, a guy I've never heard of. I don't think anybody's heard of. His name is Leatherwood or Leatherhead. It's very interesting that
Leatherface.
The Raiders blew everybody's mind. John Gruden again finding that gem, Captain Jack.
Okay, well, first, can you hear? First off, can you guys hear me?
You're good.
Okay, good. Because I had a little bit of snafus with the sound last night, and so I wanted to make sure I was good on sound. By the way, I am on a break from work. Officially,
Right.
I am taking a break from work because I wanted to be here for this. I got to say, first off, Skeets Nehemiah, and you're saying he didn't catch on with the Niners. Did you realize how much of a pun that was, Jack?
No, I mean, Skeets Nehemiah. I mean, I can't help but think Raiders even after the Skeets Nehemiah. I asked you yesterday who was making the decisions for the Raiders. Was it the GM Mike Malak or was it the coach John Gruden? Yesterday's pick gave me the answer. That's a John Gruden pick. I mean, totally unorthodox, off the wall.
Okay.
That had to come from him, right?
Okay, first off, stop saying stuff. Here's the thing. By the way, Pags, Keith was saying that that I was kind of loud and stuff, and I didn't even get anything about you and I. And Pags is going to be my guest when the Eagles, and I said that correctly, come out to Vegas this year he's my guest in my seat there, providing it's not the first game. And the reason why I say that is I'm selling those tickets for as much as I can get for them because I'd like to start paying off that PSL that I paid for. So I'll be at the game, and those tickets will be going, but I'm not going to be sitting in there. I'm going to be out. I'm going to be outside and enjoying everybody. And then I'll go to a bar, make an appearance probably, and then have a great day of it. So now for the Raiders, first off, I get it. And you have to remember that everybody hated the Colton Miller pick a couple years ago at left tackle. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? I personally was pissed last night when I was on the show. I said, Tevin Jenkins is right there. If you're going to pick a tackle, pick Tevin Jenkins. But I do like the fact that you didn't hear of him. He's the Outland Award winner there, Jack. That means best offensive lineman in football in college. He is a 3-year starter that I don't think missed any games at all, maybe one. He has had 2 missed blocks for sacks in that career. He's all conference, all everything. He is a dynamic run blocker. And the last I checked, the Raiders are going into a ground and pound with Jacobs and Kenyon Drake and the other kid that they got. It's pound. And everybody likes when the Raiders throw, I think that they have guys like Waller and Ruggs and Edwards and John Brown. They got people to throw to, but they needed to solidify their offensive line.
I get it.
Well, having said that, I still wanted a defensive player. And that's what damn straight, listen up. Respect my authority.
They could have
Say that's the first time I've ever heard somebody keep him quiet.
They could have played it down. I'm not questioning the pick and the player in itself. They could have traded down and gotten an extra pick. They could have traded 6-7 slots down and worked something out.
Sure. Jack, tell me who was going to come up at 17. Everybody says the same thing. They could have traded down. They could have had him in the second round. Okay? That's a bunch of crap because you got to have 2 people to make a trade. Was there anybody there on the board at that time that somebody just had to have at pick 17? If they tried to trade down, I don't know because, I wasn't in the room. Maybe next year you guys can get me in the room with Mayock and Gruden and I'll know what's going on, okay? You guys do that, we'll all know. But the point is that nobody knows what went on in that room. So if they could have traded down, great. Everybody was saying you could have traded down. Yes, you can if somebody wants the pick. If somebody wants to pick,
Listen, if
that's
this guy was the Outlander Award best offensive lineman in the league, I mean, all this stuff. Of course, somebody later in the draft would have went up and got it. Tampa Bay might have done it. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers might have. I mean, there's a lot of teams. Of course, they moved up, but teams of that caliber, Captain, that might have been interested in that trade. I mean, you guys need some defensive help over there. I'm not saying it was a bad pick. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying was,
and everybody was apoplectic, like the world ended. And again, I was not happy with it originally, but I sat down and I looked at it again. The kid is a plug and play. You can throw him in right now at right tackle. You can although he's a left tackle. That's one other thing. We got a left tackle already with Miller. That's a lot of other things. Maybe they project him at left guard to take Richie Incognito's place because of the big kid who's a run grader. Again, and the one thing you said, this was a Gruden pick, but the real answer to that question is this was a Tom Cable pick to Gruden saying, we need help on the offensive line, and we got a good guy there who grades out as the best run blocker amongst all of these guys in that. Again, by who? By people that say so. Will other people say we blew the pick? Of course they did. And the one thing that I want to say about this, and I put it on my Facebook, and actually the Raiders put it on their website, they made a mockery of the kid saying, like, look who the Raiders drafted. Oh, and he likes to collect memes. Ha, ha, ha. And have a big smiley face behind it. And it's BSPN. BSPN did that. BSPN News. And I said, okay, so knock the pick. But you're going to knock on the guy because he's got 1,000 memes on his phone. At least he doesn't have kitty porn or animals being slaughtered or, people in Asia doing whatever, making shoes and doing that. No, they knock him because he has 1,000 memes on his phone, and they say, ha, ha, ha. And I'm like, this is the typical BSPN hatred for my team. And you think that I'm paranoid. I'm not. It's true. It is true.
Well, they must have listened. They must have listened to the Philly Sports Guy playbook, because I feel, first off, you can never go wrong with an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman in the first round. And it doesn't matter where you take them, especially somebody who grades out as high as that guy. Now, I happen to have heard of that guy. Because I pay attention to the line. I know what's going on. So I actually looked at it as a good pick. I thought he would go a little sooner because I thought that once that first two linemen went, that there was going to be a run on linemen, and they didn't happen. So the fact that the Raiders got him at that point, I thought was a good idea. Now, I will give a little bit of credit to the second loudest fan in the NFL that that he didn't know and didn't really know about that. But I tell you, I felt that was a really good pick by them. And it doesn't matter really what anybody says. I know that he'll probably have to move to the other side of the line, but he's going to be somebody who's going to be there on that team for likely, a good 15, 16 years.
You take your guy where he's available. You don't know he's going to be available in the second round. You don't know that.
Thank you. They said he could have been had in the second round. Could have been. Well, are you guaranteeing that when the Raiders have the 16th pick in the second round, providing that they don't make a trade up, are you saying that for sure he was going to be there 16 picks into the second round? And the answer is no effing way. Do you know?
The Eagles would have possibly taken him, and so I thought about this, and we talked. Pyle's still on the board, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He didn't come out. He was a surefire first round pick. Didn't come off the board. That's why I feel like the Eagles are going to jump up to the first or second pick and make a trade today to get him. That he won't be there at the 6th pick in the second round. They're going to move up to get him.
That's where I want to go next, guys. I mean, the first round's over. The picks were made, no matter people like it or not. That's their opinion. And, of course, they don't know what's going on behind the scenes with scouting, reviewing tapes. All that stuff goes into it. It's not just they see this guy who wins awards either and they just pick him up. There's some extensive research that goes into any draft pick. So we're going into the second round now. You know, the Pats got their quarterback, the Jets got their quarterback and got their offensive lineman. The Raiders get their big offensive lineman, and the Eagles they pick up perhaps a great wide receiver, Heisman Trophy winner. So, Captain, where do you think the Raiders go now in the second round? Are they going to go and try and get a defensive man now, or are they going to stay on the offensive side of the ball?
I said this to you guys last night. I said defense, 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 and the occasional guy that drops for offense, either a lineman, right tackle. I said that, by the way, or the running back in the later rounds, which is good. By the way, Devontae Booker is going to work out well for the Giants. I wish we could have kept him, but we got Kenyon Drake. So we're gonna fill those spots as they come. Remember, the Raiders got like back-to-back picks at 179 and 180 in the third round or something like that. So they got picks to go. It's going to be a defensive-heavy draft, hopefully. And I say hopefully because until Mike Mayock calls me up and says, Captain Jack, what should we do here? I will be more than happy to give that tutelage, but I think the Raiders go in, they start filling those holes. Again, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who everybody was screaming about, is still on the board. Tevin Jenkins, that tackle, is still on the board. Moore, the safety, is still on the board. Everybody was making hell. I'm trying to watch my mouth. Making a lot of stuff about these guys. We shoulda. If they're still on the board in the second round, who's to say that the Raiders don't move up to get somebody if they really like them? Remember, they got some picks in the back end. And I really firmly believe that Mayock will now start doing the New England Patriots way of, you want the pick? Okay, move up and give me some picks on the back end. And that's how they got all these picks for years and years and years. They would move back, get more picks, move back, get more picks. Raiders have done that recently in the last couple of years. I think it's going to be defensive laden. They're going to pick the occasional guy that drops in a good spot. They're going to go up and get some people because they moved back, they moved up, they stayed pat. And that is where Mayock makes his money. Now, again, this was a Gruden pick for sure, but Cable was in his ear. And I tell you what, when you have an offense that when the defense is so horrible, you want to make sure that the offense stays on the field and scores points. And that's what we're doing this year.
That's a good point, Pax. How about the Eagles? Are they going to get that edge rusher now, or are they going to continually try to get some playmakers on the offense?
So I think they probably do get Pyle. I mean, like I said, when you start hearing about the rumors, I feel like sometimes rumors come out specifically to try to get somebody else's stock up higher so that another guy will value them a little bit more on the board. I know that we need a lot of help at safety and at cornerback as well. And the fact that there are a couple of good safeties out there. I was talking to a few other people that are fairly knowledgeable, and they were saying that this draft is really rich in cornerbacks, and that cornerbacks in the third and fourth and fifth rounds are going to wind up being a lot better than people think that they are. That they could have probably gone higher in different years of drafts. And the fact that there wasn't as many games this year and there wasn't as much film on them this year is actually going to have making their stock drop, but it's going to actually work out better for the teams that take them. So I'm hoping that they do go in that they need more help on the defensive side of the ball. Our offensive line is coming back again this year. We actually have still, like I said, we have everybody's coming back who was hurt. And then on top of that, we're going to have Dillard that's coming back. So we're going to have that extra tackle that's going to be able to go on either side of the line. And we're going to have the people that we can rotate in and out. I'm hoping maybe they can move Dillard to guard and take over for Sayamalu, because I feel like that he's our weakest link on that line right now. But obviously, I'm not sure if that's going to be able to happen one way or another. So my thought is that you've got all the wide receivers we need. We got a quarterback that we're not sure about, but that's going to have to be whatever it is. We may take Foles back again, but what's he going to be, a third string quarterback? I don't know that that's going to fly. And then and then go on the defensive side of the ball. So I think they like the guy. I think they like Pyle from Michigan, and then I think that they will start going cornerback, safeties, and things of that nature. And who knows, maybe even a linebacker at some point.
You said Pyle's still on the board? Surprise.
Hey, Keith, the Patriots, right? You got your quarterback. You built up the offense with tight ends. Your defense is coming back. What are the Pats looking for in their second round?
Well, there's still some good defensive backs out there. They need to strengthen the defensive backfield. They need some help on the offensive line. I think that's where they're going to focus probably here in 2, 3, 4. They got 3 fourth-round picks.
Right.
At some point, I do expect them to take probably a wide receiver and even another running back at some point, but that'll probably be later in the draft, would be my guess. I think they're going to focus on the defensive backfield here heavily.
And Jack, the Jets. The Jets, what are they going to do? I mean, you got your quarterback.
Everything and anything. I mean, honestly, it kind of makes me laugh with weaker teams. You talk about all their needs. They have a lot of needs. I mean, the Jets have needs at wide receiver. Okay, they're addressed obviously with Vera Tucker. The offensive line isn't too bad. They badly need a running back. There's not a premium put on running backs. And Frank Gore's your major running back. You at this stage of his career, you've got a problem. Okay, they're going to want to obviously build something around Zach Wilson. It's very important to the GM Joe Douglas, to his legacy and job as well, that Zach Wilson succeeds. Even if the team isn't that good, if Zach Wilson is good, he's going to be praised for that particular draft pick. So, I mean, normally it's good to stockpile picks, in situations. But, they moved up yesterday to get, a premium guard. But the Jets really need everything.
And just to interject really quick, that was the one trade I thought could possibly be made, that the Eagles could move up from number 6 to number 2 with the Jets, and in compensation for that, have Zach Ertz be the tight ends for the New York Jets. I think that was part of it. Getting the quarterback from BYU is actually one of the things that I thought that maybe Zach Ertz would maybe turn him to want to possibly go to the Jets and would give him a good relief valve for that.
No, the Jets were sold on Zach Wilson. That wasn't going to change before yesterday.
Well, no, but I thought maybe he'd change the mind of Zach Ertz going up to New York.
Guys, a question of this, and Mac always gets a little laughs at me about this. Had Aaron Rodgers let the Packers know earlier, which I probably did, why wasn't his situation addressed before the draft? If Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be with the Packers, it should have been in play. Everyone should have known a couple of weeks ago, and it should have been dealt with, in the draft, because one of the teams would have moved up big time to get Aaron Rodgers.
There's no situation to address. He's got no options. He's playing for the Packers, or he's not playing, and he's not hosting Jeopardy, so he'll be quarterbacking the Packers next year.
Honestly, and I'm going to ask you this, Jack, honestly, what team would want a quarterback that makes over $40 million a year, goes to 2 championships, has one Super Bowl, and does nothing but complain all the time? I wouldn't want him. If I was the Packers, as I told you yesterday, the owners are the fans, I would have walked his butt over to the line of Green Bay, gave him his suitcases and gave him a bus ticket and said, see you later. He is one of the biggest crybabies I've ever seen in my life. From the day he was drafted till now, all he wants is headlines, and he wants.
I will tell you this: what team would want him? The Raiders and the Eagles would have worked something out. Believe me, had they known he was available.
He's got no leverage at all. None.
How about the Denver Broncos? They like to take a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, just a number of teams. When the 49ers were on the phone about it, they would have traded. They wouldn't have taken Trey Lance if they could have gotten Aaron Rodgers.
He's not.
They would have traded that pick straight up for him and given additional compensation.
Elway can't draft a quarterback to save his life, so he has to have a quarterback come in a la Peyton Manning to save
Elway's not in charge anymore.
Elway, the last time I checked, Jack,
no, he's not. Yeah, Peyton's making the calls over there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if that's true, then why isn't Peyton doing it? Because again, he knows that his quarterbacks are crap. He knows his quarterbacks are crap.
No, not true. He could have taken Justin Fields with the pick with Denver yesterday. It was there for him, and he didn't want him. He could have taken Mac Jones.
Bust with Justin Fields. Bust. They not a bust in Canton, by the way. A bust, all of Jabustus Russell with Justin Fields. I'm telling you that. Okay.
Excellent play on words. Hey guys,
Does Aaron Rodgers get the Jeopardy job or not?
Jack, hold on, Jack. We got to get out of here, folks. Our time's up. I got to go to work.
I got to run myself. So you guys have a great day.
Thanks for coming in, and we'll see you again. Paz, great work. Great having you on, Captain Keith and Jack. We'll see you tomorrow. So have a great
job, Captain and Pags. Have a great weekend out there, Pags.
Thank you.
So take care, guys. We'll see you again very soon.
See you guys.
And all right, Jack, you have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good, Joe, listen, when we have a hot topic like the draft.
Jack, I got to go, man. I got to go.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Yeah, we'll talk later.
Great.
All right, my friend.